This video is sponsored by Apex Nutrition.
Yes. And also by Shake Weight.
And Yalco.
Yeah. Eat protein bars.
Arco.
And also Trojan condoms.
All right.
Only the big ones.
Just the Magnums. All right, are we ready?
Magnum dong.
I'm gonna leave this part in the very beginning. Watch me. All right, we ready to do this?
Yes.
Get clap in. Get it right here. There it is. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep.
And 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, motherfuckers. We are here again with the HP podcast. We have a sort of a little bit of a mixture of microphones going on. We're experimenting with new things, but we'll see. If it's complete shit, my bad.
Just pretend they're not here.
Yeah, just pretend like they're not here.
Yes.
But we have a special HP podcast today because I am joined by, on my left, your right, Mr. Jake, and on my right, your left, Mr. Tony. New to the podcast, he's going to give us all kinds of interesting information and
Insight.
commentary.
Commentary.
I'm here for insight and commentary.
What else is there?
Nothing. But you know what there is, though? Aliens.
Aliens.
Yep. Where are the aliens?
We're gonna ask those exact questions. We're gonna talk about it because what we need to know is, well, not even are they real, because we know they're real.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. They're here. They're amongst us. They're walking around. But where are they? And what do they want?
I saw a funny meme the other day. It was Elon Musk, and it was like, have you ever thought maybe Elon Musk is fighting so hard to get to space because he's an alien that landed on Earth? And he's trying to get back home.
It could be true. You look at that guy and you're like, you're like 70% alien. Pretty much. You're not really human.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah. Oh.
To get home, he has to further the technology of our planet.
That's why...
Yeah. What if it was true?
Man, I mean, we don't have the technology yet, so...
I don't
he's
know.
trying to get us there.
He's like, I'm from Mars, and
I need to get back.
Yeah. He's developing like interstellar Uber. He's like, I just need a ride. I need to get back home.
Please.
I'll start this. I'll use this capitalist society to start this rocket ship business.
Well, that's how the ancient alien theorists assume that we got our current technology anyway. Is by
They came down.
Yeah, aliens coming in and bestowing upon us their technology.
I think that's interesting.
That gives us those bumps in technology. You know, every so often, every millennia.
Yeah.
It's like boom, we're all of a sudden we can use these tools.
It's like what brought us out of the Dark Ages? Some aliens.
Aliens. Yeah.
Exactly.
They came down and were like, man, you guys are fucking up.
Yeah, this is bullshit. You guys are like the...
We need to re-enlighten
you. Yeah, these guys are struggling. They got sticks and rocks and shit. This is not going to fly.
That's right.
That's because the aliens left us alone for 500 years.
That's true. They terraformed us, and then they just pieced out. They just dropped their little seeds down and then created bacteria, and then slowly the primordial ooze turned into...
It's like a planetary Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, if only they could see the... Well, they do see. They watch down on all the fucking that we've created now for ourselves.
Who's got the conch? Elon Musk has got the conch right now. That's me.
I'm speaking right now. Yeah, it's like... He's the leader of the tribe. So anyways, we kind of, I like the intro that we, this tends to happen every time. It's like, I come into this, I'm like, we're going to do a lead in, we're going to have an
introductions,
intro, and then the second we say aliens. It's like, we just start talking about it. So yeah, I think people probably, if they're not used to it already, they're going to get used to the idea that this is one of the most unscheduled scatterbrain podcasts that you probably ever listen to, which may be a bad thing, but I think it's great.
I don't think it is.
And it's actually going to be about aliens today. We're not lying.
We're not lying. The whole podcast is going to be about aliens, but probably take some detours along the way, because you know how we do.
It's not going to be about bananas this time.
So that being said, welcome to the HP podcast. Nailed it! Yes, finally!
An angel with a harp.
All right, so to me, let's start from the beginning, right? The beginning of time. And we're talking about aliens.
Whose definition of the beginning?
Well, we don't know. Let's talk about human beginning of time, because the aliens, what do? They come down, they plant some bacteria on the Earth, and then after a few
Prometheus
million years, then we've got single-celled organisms and shit, and then like fucking reptiles and whatever.
We crawl out of the oceans from whence
Yep.
we came.
Yep.
Indeed.
Sprout some legs for some reason.
That doesn't seem unreasonable.
If you're subscribed to that theory, but
Oh yeah, I hear a rebuttal coming.
I believe in that theory, to be honest. But
Alien implantation theory.
but you gotta assume like whether the aliens did it or whether it was just a spontaneous chemical reaction
or like
with the molecules and the present matter that we have available on the planet. You know, was it the aliens who did it, or was it the Occam's razor approach? Yeah,
could be that.
Just chance. It's like you have enough carbon atoms, and then eventually there's just life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know there's another prevailing theory would be, there were asteroids or meteors or some stuff like that had those things on it that just happened to hit Earth, thus seeding Earth. You know,
yeah.
Like frozen ice balls flying through space gave us our water and all that stuff.
Yeah, I can see
Because that comet that we landed on, I believe they found some. I don't want to say some biological material, but they kind of concluded that yes, a comet could, based on they found on the comet, that a comet hitting the planet could have caused life to happen. Just from, flying in. It didn't have to be aliens planting the material on the planet. Maybe this just flew in from way outside of our galaxy or solar system. Who knows? Who knows how long?
It could have been a chunk of another alien planet that they blew themselves up.
Right.
And here's a chunk of their life flying
former civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
so now we have like 3 or 4 different theories.
It picks up all kinds of space shit on its way through the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a comet's been flying around, and then it just lands on the Earth, and all the debris, like the bullshit that it picked up on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Now
it's a dirty ball of ice and
that's the
human species.
Ice and life.
That's the astrological definition of a comet. It's just a human ball of shit and ice and bacteria and germs floating through space.
Just getting ready. I mean, man, it sucks that we haven't found any concrete evidence, though. At least nothing that's like open could be hidden.
Speculation at most, I guess. We just haven't dug deep enough beneath the crust. I mean, who knows what's buried?
Well, maybe they are. They have hollow Earth, so they're supposed to be here already.
Yeah, that's another one.
The entrance at the polar caps.
Well, what do you think's crazier, the hollow Earth theory or the flat Earth theory?
I think they're both fucking
flat Earth.
Flat Earth is
crazier.
Sure.
These guys
crazier.
need to be deported.
I know. Jeez.
We just need to make a base on the moon for those people and send them up there.
We're developing the technology.
And every day they can look down at the Earth and realize how fucking wrong they were.
Send them to Mars so they can create a flat Mars theory.
Mm-hmm.
People legitimately feel that way. And I think it speaks to the ignorance of fucking people.
Oh my gosh. There's a documentary on Netflix about flat earthers and stuff. And just watching it, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, one of the parts of the video was the main guy. Forgot what his name was. I wanted to say Mark or something.
It doesn't matter.
He was interviewing this other chick that he had been in contact with for like a long time. He was another like head person that does a bunch of shit with conspiracies. And the person filming the documentary was like, so what resources do you trust? Like, are there any sources that you trust? And she was like, myself.
Oh my god.
That's it. That's it. I'm like, so if you don't trust anything except yourself, but you're not smart enough to actually run experiments, then how did you come to any conclusion that you have in your mind right now? Because everything that you believe right now, you probably heard someone else say or you read somewhere else, but you don't trust anyone else. So what? I don't get it.
Hey, that's what a narcissist does, man. They're solely...
You might have just nailed it. Yeah, you got it.
They're totally self-involved. They make up theories in their own mind.
To substantiate their own fucked up thoughts.
Maybe they went to sleep and had a dream one night, and then they woke up and thought that was their reality.
Yep, I don't know.
Who knows what goes through their minds?
I feel like a lot of this comes from people just like, life is so easy nowadays that you have so much free time, and you feel like you don't have any meaning, so you have to create meaning. So then you create these conspiracies that give you a sense of meaning. So it puts you in a group that you belong to, and it gives you kind of that, it gives you
Us
kind of like
them,
yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
But it gives you like, it's the same reason why the main argument for colleges and universities are still useful, and is it because it gives you an identity for 4 years that in itself is useful. So joining these conspiracy theory groups, they give you an identity that's useful, because if you don't have an identity, you're one step closer to self-destruction or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. No one knows. People are fucking out of their minds. That's all I know.
I know that.
We know that for sure. That is proven. See, this is what happens. It's like you start talking about aliens, and it's like SJW bullshit.
Oh gosh, yep, it always comes.
We're not going to touch that today. We can't.
Well, I mean, let's say aliens came to Earth and they found out some people believe that the Earth is flat. What do you think the aliens would do to those people?
Hopefully, they'd zap them with a razor beam.
Yeah,
Mars attacks. Mars attacks.
Yeah.
Yep, probed and analyzed.
You're the first one in line for probing.
How is this possible?
We need to figure out how their brains
have to
work.
document this.
Yeah, these people are so fucked up. Let's analyze their brains by sticking a tube up their ass.
I had a thought the other day that aliens probing humans, just being abducted in general and being brought on the ship is kind of a compliment, maybe, to who you are as maybe you're like the peak. I mean, it could be either or. You could be like such an abomination and a freak that they need
one way or the other.
they need to analyze you, or you're just a very rare and unique specimen. They're like, oh yeah, we should stick something up this
grab that guy.
Well,
look at the butt on that.
I feel like
on that one.
I feel like assuming
for sure.
aliens are scientific and they follow some type of scientific model, which I feel like they would have to have the technology that they have to travel and do crazy shit. Then maybe the humans they pick up are their scientific estimation of the most average human. Yeah. And they want it, or it's just completely random, because in scientific studies, you take a population and you pull from them randomly.
That's true.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, we could only be in the first phase of the experiment, in the analytics of humans. They're in the random choice phase,
Random choice.
picking up just random people, and then they're going to move on to the race thing and be like, oh, let's get all the brown ones. let's get all the white ones.
Like, what makes them different?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then you can assume what else, like, oh, let's get all the ones with birth defects. Let's get all the ones born with male and female genitalia. Let's get all the ones born with like a left foot or a cleft palate.
Oh yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like, the Earth could be their way of putting a bunch of people here to just like create diseases so they could harness them to use as weapons, or to create cures for diseases that the aliens.
Yeah.
Like, what if aliens are super good at like physics, but they're really bad at biology?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they make humans.
No one knows. We had talked about the idea that maybe like we've been in contact with the aliens, like the governments, and that's what like the state parks are, or the national parks. Because don't they have thousands of people that go missing in the national parks? And they're all kind of like hippie tree huggers, It's like people that won't be missed. Maybe the government's just like, go out in the woods and just camp out there. Mm-hmm. And then the aliens are like, I got you, motherfucker. You're getting probed, baby.
It's part of the deal.
Yeah, it's part of the deal
between the aliens and our government down here. They're like, well, if you don't want us to come down here and destroy your civilization, then you're going to have to appease the gods.
Well, how long has that been going on for? You know what I mean? Maybe that's what it was. Like the Aztecs and shit, maybe they weren't actually killing people. They were just sending them up.
Sending them up
to space.
Exactly. Are you familiar with the missing 411, Jake?
The missing 401?
411?
Oh, no.
Mm.
It's basically in the national parks, we've been having these, especially in the national parks, there have been thousands of disappearances that have been under, they're a little mysterious because they're not really divulging all the information about these disappearances and,
Go figure.
and where they went, and they won't, they have these Freedom of Information Acts. I think, is it Freedom of Information Act requests?
Yeah.
And the feds are getting the runaround, and they won't release the information.
Dude.
And these cases go back to, the late 1800s documented.
Mm-hmm.
And, my theory, and I think the theory around a lot of people, is that the aliens are are abducting people from the national parks, and we can't really divulge the information on that. So that's the reason why you get the runaround. And who knows? Maybe the government is involved.
I don't understand how so many people can go missing from these places when they have the resources that they have. But like, I watched a YouTube video on a story about like this old lady that went missing. It was like this old couple, and they went out. I can't remember which park it was, and they ended up getting lost. And then they got split up. The guy found his way back, and she never found her way back. And they, like, for weeks, they put searches out, like, all these people out. No one found anything. And then 2 years later, a random hiker, like, came across this, like, old tent site, and they found her body there and everything 2 years later. And she was only a few hundred feet from the trail. Like, and she had, like, written, like, letters and put it in Ziploc bags. And she apparently, she lasted out there for, like, 2 weeks or something before she died, because she didn't know how to get water or food or anything like that, so she just sat there for 2 weeks and then died. Shit. But it's like, how does that go unnoticed for 2 years, and then it's just a few hundred feet off the trail and they find it randomly, you know?
Yeah. Did they search the areas?
Oh,
like, thoroughly?
Apparently they searched for a few weeks and they couldn't find her, so they gave up. And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I
don't get it.
That's the kind of the normal with the missing 411 cases in the national parks. I mean, they'll disappear. And they'll search the area countless times, comb it over like 4 or 5 times, very specific areas, and then, a month goes by and they're like, screw it, we can't find them.
Yeah.
We're done.
You're
and
using
then,
too many resources.
A year later, they find the body in places where they had searched before.
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
They just got surgically planted back there.
Yeah. Could be wormholes, Could be...
so they get teleported to an alternate dimension to be experimented with, and then placed back in this dimension.
Oh, and because of because of the way that time works inside of wormholes and whatever.
Because we know
they could have been gone in their time, in their perception. They could have been gone for 5 minutes.
It's like
10 minutes.
What's the movie that you love?
Oh, Interstellar.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Yeah,
they got McConaughey.
Well, what's the name? What's the name of that, like, you know how he goes into, like, the black hole or whatever, and inside there's, like, a structure, and it's, like, if you can see different times, and when he sees his daughter or whatever while he's inside of it.
Oh.
Singularity.
It's some kind of construct or something.
There's a name for him.
He's inside of the bookcase.
The Matrix.
Yeah. But what's the name? I'm going to look that up real quick.
Yeah. I don't know, honestly.
I thought it was a singularity, but that may be something else.
There's a name for... here, I'm just going to look it up. Well, I know what it is in Japanese.
Let me get your opinion on this really quick, too, since we're talking about National Forest.
Sure.
Is Bigfoot an alien?
Yeah. Definitely.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think he's just an early human.
You think?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Just like one of those old, like Neanderthal, never evolved.
I feel like that's more likely.
Yeah, it just...
I doubt that they're technologically advanced or even very intelligent to begin with. But what I think they are is I think they're aliens who were dropped off on Earth. It was either they were dropped off or they were evolved from some kind of alien experiment from some other aliens. Maybe the ones that we're talking about who are in contact with the government. But I think these Bigfoot, these Sasquatch, they're kind of blinking in and out of reality. Maybe they got like a cloaking device type of thing going on. Like
there is that,
like Predator.
Yep.
They have a camouflage system. That's why you can't really see them that often.
There's a school of thought that they can, a lot of these cryptid creatures can actually sort of blip in between times and consciousness and realities. Mm. So they're on one plane and then maybe like a wormhole, and then they're here and then they go back. Yeah. Same thing with like the Loch Ness Monster. Mm-hmm. That could be just a really convenient explanation for why nobody's ever fucking found them. The reason is not because they're not real. It's just because they're transporting between realities.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Tesseract.
Tesseract. Oh yeah.
Tesseract.
What a word. That's a great word.
Yeah.
If you can pull that out on Scrabble board, you're a fucking
Tesseract.
Your Scrabble board king.
King of the Scrabble board.
So that brings me to a question. So, okay. There are a few things about aliens that I think are interesting. Mm-hmm. And I come from like a few different ideas. It's like, all right, so we are so interested in finding out whether other aliens exist or not, and if they have greater technology. Because the only reason we'd be able to find them is if they have great enough technology that we could see it, but they don't care enough to keep it from us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is, one of the reasons why we haven't seen any alien life is because we're at a time in our like technology as a human race where we use mostly radio waves to do things.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking the other day, it's like, all right, let's say every civilization goes through like a 200-year period where they mainly use radio waves. And before that, they don't really have technology, and after that, they use something else.
Yeah.
And right now, we're in that 200 years where we use radio waves. What are the chances that another civilization somewhere else just happened to line up with us where they're using radio waves while we're using radio waves? You know, like they're probably all using something that's either past us or they're before us and they're not using it.
That's true.
So how are we going to find that? Because if we send radio waves out, and if we hit any other alien civilization that's less than us, then they're not going to get them because they don't have radio waves. And if they're more than us, they're probably not even looking for radio waves. You know?
Yeah, it's difficult because that's, if you think about the potential advancement of technology, radio waves are kind of primitive. So the chances of, on the grandiose scale of the universe and how big it is, the chances of radio waves hitting any other radio waves from another civilization is so minuscule. You would have to hit the lottery in a sense to have that work. I do like that theory though, because you could, I mean, the age of the universe, these alien species that have already used radio waves, and then maybe they've gone up in their technology and in their advancements, they could already be gone. Like,
probably,
you know, they could have broken through the
Great Filter.
The Great Filter. They could have
here.
conquered the Great Filter. They could have, populated different parts of the universe. But I mean, eventually they die off, and their signals are still flying through space. We just haven't gotten them yet because of time and distance.
Yeah, distance is huge.
That's a big part of it.
The problem is, like, aside from harnessing some type of teleportation technology, like using a wormhole, the fastest you can possibly travel is the speed of light, let's say.
Yeah.
And shit's so far apart that even traveling the speed of light, it could take thousands of years to get anywhere, you know? So, like, the chances of us, let's say there's an alien species that lives 2,000 light years away from us, and we send radio waves out there. It's going to take 2,000 years to get to them, and then it'll take 2,000 more years to get back to us. Yeah. And by then, it's like the year 6,000 something, you know?
Yeah.
So I think the main reason why we don't know aliens exist is because the universe is so big that we haven't had time to collect the information.
Yeah.
It's like, let's say this is like 5,000 years ago, and you're a human on the east coast of the U.S., and you're like, you send one of your friends at like a radio wave to go swim out into the ocean and just keep swimming until they find alien life, right?
Yeah. So
how long are you going to be sitting there? Yeah,
a boat or a buoy.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is
analogy.
good. Yeah, because it's like, how long are you going to be standing on the shore waiting for your friend to come back? Like, it's going to take him let's say he doesn't need food or anything; he can just swim. It's going to take him years to swim all the way to, like, the western shore of Spain or something, see that there's life there, and come back. And by then, like, you're probably dead, and you're, like, descendants, and who even knows?
Yeah.
Of course. And you also got to, and I don't know if this fits with the analogy, but assuming that he even made it.
Yeah, he even makes it.
He touched the other side, and then he's on his way back with the information. And, he gets eaten by a shark or something.
Yeah, these radio waves
are still sitting out
waiting. They can get absorbed into other planets, absorbed into stars. Like, anything that they hit, it blocks and creates a shadow behind it.
It deflects, and then maybe that message hits another civilization. Or like it wasn't intended for them.
Who knows?
But
that makes you feel like the whole Carl Sagan thing, right? It's just a total PR stunt.
Which was that?
Where he put all that, it was like this golden disc
Cosmos.
or whatever, the Cosmos thing, and he put
yeah.
all this music on there. And it just now, people kind of, they look at that and they're like, wow, it's just so, it was so advanced for the times. Like, whoa. But now you're looking at it, it's like, that was fucking...
Well, you know what it is? It's literally...
Early clickbait.
I think if you look at the reasons you would create such a thing, it's super depressing. You're literally creating a time capsule for the human race, hoping that if the human race wipes himself out, there'll still be some evidence we ever existed floating around in the universe, you know?
Yeah.
And what are the chances that thing's going to survive long enough before it gets sucked into like a star or a black hole?
It's probably already gone.
Yeah, like, are we tracking it? Where is it?
Yeah, I think, was it Voyager 1? Is that the thing that's holding the gold disc? And it's got the
well, didn't we send something out that just recently made it to Pluto or something? Like after a few tens of decades or something?
Yeah, and it finally took pictures of Pluto. Those are impressive pictures also.
That's pretty cool.
That thing is leaving...
It's leaving the
solar system right now. But that thing, I don't even know how long it was going for, but it was years.
I'm going to look it up. I'll be the guy who looks stuff up.
You're the researcher. Yeah.
And that just goes to show you the distance involved. I mean, the closest galaxy to us is Andromeda.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like... What is that, like 92, or not 92?
It's away.
It's
about 30 miles.
It's 30 miles away.
Give or take.
It's pretty far.
25,000 light years.
Woo! 25,000 light years? Andromeda?
The closest known galaxy... Oh, it says the closest known galaxy to us is the Canis Major dwarf galaxy now.
Oh, Canis Major.
25,000 light years from our sun.
Mm-hmm.
The elliptical galaxy... Sagittarius dwarf elliptical galaxy is the next closest at 70,000 light years.
Okay.
And let me look at
That's why we need that fact check.
Yeah, Jake's the research man.
How far is Andromeda?
Let's see. It's a 2.5 million light years.
Andromeda is?
That's a little ways.
It's originally the Andromeda Nebula.
Andromeda is easily the coolest one.
It's got a great name. It's
the nearest major galaxy to us. The other ones are dwarf galaxies.
Gotcha. What is the distinction? See, now that you've opened up the worms, like we're trying to learn.
What is a dwarf?
What galaxy? Is a dwarf galaxy?
And who has the right to name them dwarf galaxies?
Yeah. What gave you the right?
I'm assuming it's just based on size.
And isn't that politically incorrect? I mean, they're just
small.
galaxies.
They're little galaxies. Yeah. It says it's based on low luminosity, low mass, and small size. The same global properties.
It's not the size.
They're like, I'm sorry, galaxy, but you have low luminosity and you're small as shit.
Yeah.
So the galaxy's like,
oh my god.
You see this big motherfucker Andromeda over here. Now that's a galaxy.
Now that's a galaxy. Look at that. Take that for example. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
What a specimen.
That big dick swayed galaxy.
So apparently they're the most abundant type of galaxy, and they're formed when two galaxies smash together and shoot out smaller...
So two galaxies smash.
Yeah, and they shoot out smaller galaxies.
That sounds a little...
Is this even believable?
A little risque. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
So
like
galaxies
one galaxy
mate.
Just rolling up to the other one like, hey, galaxy. Yeah.
So
very white.
I don't even remember what we were talking about.
we
were talking about the probe that they sent out to...
I never
And
oh man,
the probe / satellite or whatever they sent out, going to the outskirts of the
Voyager 2,
the solar system.
Voyager 2. That is crazy to think, though. It's like, right now at this moment, that thing is just fucking flying through space. Yep, it's out there. That's the it's like a Jetson. You know what I mean? That's the sound I think of all space travel.
Yeah.
Once you get up there, it's clearly all silent, but it's like.
Yep. Yes, exactly. If you can imagine this, like in a movie, you're in a fixed point in space, and then all of a sudden this satellite comes over.
Oh my gosh! All right, listen to this, guys.
Little known fact: that's what all space travel sounds like.
Listen to this. I looked up Voyager 1 leaving the Milky Way. They're saying Voyager 1 becomes the first man-made object to leave the solar system. And in about 40,000 years, it will come within 1.7 light years of the nearest star on its way to the center of the galaxy, which will take millions of years.
We're going to be long gone by then.
Dude, we're going to be done, man.
What was the point?
40, it's going to take them 40,000 years to get close to the nearest sun that we're flying. Like, that's how freaking massive these galaxies and solar systems are.
Yeah.
And the speed that the galaxy is expanding is going to keep us from being able to do things. Because even if we can travel 1/100th of the speed of light, stuff's going to be moving away from us at a speed that's hard to catch up to in a certain amount of time.
Indeed. If the universe is expanding. So you got to factor that into your equation.
Like, is it expanding? Which direction is everything moving?
True.
Like,
from which point,
We'd have to figure out the rotation of, like, the galaxy and then shoot a probe going opposite the rotation so we kind of can meet with something in some way.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that depends on what you believe. Do you believe that the Big Bang happened, everything got shot out, it's slowly slowing down because the amount of mass is on the inside, so it would make sense that the mass is pulling it back towards the inside,
again.
and then it would start contracting again, which I think makes sense because, apparently the center of the galaxies are all supermassive black holes. Why would the center of the universe not be a supermassive black hole that's slowly sucking everything back in? And then you have another Big Bang and everything restarts over and over.
God.
Yeah, and who knows how many times that's happened.
Yeah.
Who knows? But that's the singularity. The singularity is when all of the matter in the universe is condensed into one point. You have a singularity, which causes the Big Bang, which is interesting. I watched a video the other day of like some 13-year-old prodigy physics dude trying to disprove the Big Bang, and he gave like some simple answer that he like blew up because everyone was like, "This makes a lot of sense, man. He's the next Stephen Hawking." But
God.
Was he that, not that it matters, but was he the Indian kid?
This was like a white guy.
A white kid?
Yeah,
okay,
European kid or something.
I saw this Indian kid who had a similar thing going on.
Yeah, I think they were talking about the physics of gravity and how the Big Bang couldn't have happened because if all the mass was in one spot, then there would be no catalyst for it to expand into a nothingness because there'd be... People are trying to say, well, it would because in the absence of things... a vacuum is created, which vacuums pull things towards them. But he was saying that because of the gravity, the vacuum wouldn't be able to overcome the gravity or something like that. And it's like, how much energy would you have to overcome the gravity of something that is all of the mass in the universe in one spot, And I don't know.
I think...
your problems are not that big. that's one thing I like to think about.
Maybe you could find a workaround around that... But you'd have to be the master of the universe.
God.
That's the only prerequisite.
You'd have to be God. But I think, honestly, I think that the universe is made, because of its nature, it's impossible to fulfill that gravitational, that mass. The gravity it only works so far, because of the physics of our reality, Now, if you're thinking about other dimensions that we don't really fully comprehend yet, then maybe you could manipulate time and space.
What about like the inside of stars, where the energy is so big that the gravity doesn't pull things towards the middle, and it creates like a plasma soup,
Whoa.
that like moves around?
This blew my fucking mind.
Like there's so much energy in the inside of a star that the atoms can't even form, so it's just free particles floating around,
Yeah.
So maybe it's like. I don't even know, dude. I can't even imagine what it would be like to condense all of the matter in the universe into a tiny spot. Like, how do even black holes do that crap,
We're not supposed to understand.
But maybe we have to move up in civilization.
I don't know. We can't even fucking talk to each other right now, so if we're going to understand what star soup is, I don't know.
Because, dude, we took a few steps back. Like, we took some decades. We took a couple of decades back in just human evolution, I believe. Just in our minds, man. Just think about the psychology of the times. Everybody's walking around with preconceived expectations of how they're being viewed and how they're viewing people.
That's the crazy thing. When you talk about shit like this, it really puts it all in perspective, because you're just like, wow, you're going to quibble about this, that, or the other thing, and we're just on this fucking rock through space. We don't even know anything about anything. And it's like, but yeah, we just want to be mad. It's still very primal. It feels very primal. Yeah. Now, even more, it's like, I don't even care if you agree or don't agree. It's just like, don't feel like we're just turning back into animals.
Yep, we've reached
de-evolution.
We've reached the apex of civilization.
Well, that's the fucking, not every experiment ends positively, Sometimes
most don't.
Most fail. So it's like, I think people have the expectation that people will continue to exponentially get, smarter and better. And what if that's just a fucking lie? What if it all just ends?
Yeah. Well, we're not to to put too much trust in Yeah. Gosh.
Oh, God.
Right? How do I come up with an answer to that? That's why we need smart dudes like Elon Musk, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, we need dudes like him to
and the Humble Passenger podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
revolutionary.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what? I watched Hamilton the other day for the first time.
How was it?
I thought it was really good, and the thing that struck me was just the work ethic that Hamilton had. It's like, it's so rare that these people, like, you need these people, because without these people, like, the earth would just stagnate. And the amount of work that he did and the amount of things that he put out was fucking ridiculous. Like, when he was trying to write the Constitution, or like all those letters and stuff, in like the course of a few months, him and a few other people had written like 81 papers and like all these articles and all this stuff. And out of him and those other people, he had written like 56 of them or something like that.
Holy shit.
So he like averaged like 2 papers a week for like months, 6 months straight or something ridiculous.
There you go. There's your evidence right there. If it wasn't for Hamilton, then we may not have some of the documents and types of doctrines that we live by today because of one guy.
Because of one guy, and you see that everywhere. And these like random like diamonds in the rough are the only reason why we progress as a civilization. It's not because of it's not because of like the basic. I mean, there's something to be said about like the basal intelligence of a civilization in general needing to improve for the civilization itself to improve.
Right. But
that's more at like a social level, which I think is why we're seeing all this social justice stuff going on, because our basal intelligence is going down right now.
Yeah.
And we have those singular people like Elon Musk and like Bill Gates that solely because of them and what they're doing, we're not falling back into chaos.
Yeah, it's like the kid that gets the A on the test and everybody else gets a D, and he fucks with the curve. You know,
and he messes with the curve.
He's trying to lift us all up.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So most people we can surmise from that most people are fucking bullshit, and there's a couple smart ones.
Yeah, and based on the fact that I got injured and I've just been doing a lot of walking, I've had, and this is going to be a little controversial.
Oh, here we go. We like controversy.
So tell me about this. So
Humble Pastor podcast.
Since I was like in elementary school, and you know this is probably like a crazy idea for a kid to have, but I always felt like there was a difference between people, and the only way I could describe it is some people are useful and some people are useless. And this is since I was like in elementary school, and it had me come up with like this theory where I was like, maybe religion, like let's say God is real, right? And it made me think, like, what if God created everything and then put, like, 1 million humans on the planet that were actual divine human beings that he is actually caring about? And then he created, like, 6 billion random NPCs.
And then the rest of you.
And those, like, random humans are just there to give you, the experience of living on a planet full of humans. But there are only a few people that are actually, like, divine human beings. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it made me think, I'm like, all right. So recently, that's been in the back of my mind forever, because you meet these people who are like, I just want to actually do something, and they actually go out and they do it, and they like study, they like learn about stuff, they're really good at athletics, they like do all these things, and if they want to do something, they put in the work, and then you meet these people who are like, yeah, I know I should do this, but, you know, I don't really feel like it, and then they never do anything, ever, with their whole lives.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, maybe I can create like a specification to define these people. So I'm like, all right, I have 2 groups, useful and useless, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what makes you useful? Because you have to define useful before you can define useless. And the way I'm trying to do it is I'm trying to fully flesh out useful, so then everything that's not that would be useless, right? So in my mind, there are 2 ways to prove that you're useful, and it would be you either maintain the stability or improve the stability of the known, which would be like the society at large. So someone who works a full-time job and doesn't spend their money on illegal activities, which I can come back to later, would be innately useful because they're providing a service that is helping society in general, and they're using that money that they make to put back into the system to support everything, right?
Your existence has net benefit.
Yeah, and then the second group of people that are useful are people that expand the known universe by interacting with the unknown universe, right? So that would be like researchers, scientists, people who like create things, or inventors and stuff like that. Yeah. So you have 2 options, like maintain the known or expand the known by interacting with the unknown. And then if you don't do either of those things, then you're just useless. You're just here and, like, for nothing. Because I always had this idea. It's like, how much would it suck to just be one of those farmers in the middle of China that, like, is born, farms rice paddies their whole life, and then dies, never does anything else, like, doesn't even know that there's a country outside of China that exists, like, something like that, you know what I'm saying? But those people, they're not useless because they're creating rice that literally the entire world eats, and it's like, so they have a net benefit. And that brings me back to people who, like, let's say you live with your parents, so you pay no rent and you pay no bills. You have a part-time job that gets you like $400 a month. So you decide, hey, I'm just going to, like, use this $400 a month because I have no bills to just buy cocaine or something.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Definitely useless.
So the first thing I would say is, well, the problem is this. So someone would be like, well, they're still creating use by working this part-time job. So, like, let's say they're a waiter. So that business needs a waiter, so you're creating that use. But I would say they have the net negative because they're using that money they make to fund illegal activities, which could fund violence, which could fund all this. So, because I believe, like, every dollar you spend, you're voting for something, you know? Like, you're supporting that thing if you're spending your money on it, you know?
Sure, yeah. I mean,
so, I'm still trying to flesh that out, but what do you guys think? You think that, you know, people should strive to have a base amount of usefulness, or do you think just innately being born gives you a value that you don't have to do anything with?
I think maybe it used to. Now there's too many fucking people.
Yeah.
Like, at least your usefulness could be to reproduce at the beginning. Like, when we had, like, a quarter of the population. You know, it's like, all right, well, making more people is pretty important. But now it's like, we don't need any more people, so now you're useless.
Just the potential of a human making another human kind of gives them value, because you don't know if that offspring is going to be the next Elon Musk or
Hitler,
or Hitler.
You know, yeah.
So that potential kind of gives them a useful quality.
Yeah.
But as far as their usage on Earth and what they do for the society in general, I think we can all agree that somebody who's funding illegal activity and not doing shit with their life, no matter, you know, like with the waiter example, you can find somebody else to be a waiter, man.
Yeah.
You know, so, but if somebody is trying to be a good person, and you know they are kind of useless because they're not really furthering the species, you know, outside of maybe just making babies.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of got to give them a pass just because they do have the potential. To do better and to further the species. But
well, I'd say that puts them into that first category. Someone who, like, all they do is, like, let's say they work a job that, you know, like, let's say they're, like, waste management or something.
Yeah.
So they just work that job, but I'd say their usefulness comes from the fact that they're getting a job done, they're putting all the money they make back into the system, and then they're creating more people that could possibly be those people that venture into the unknown later on, you know?
Yeah, of course.
That's true. But, you know, it's tough because if we were all smart, nobody would be a janitor or fucking clean toilets and shit.
No one would want to be.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be. If you're on the low end of that spectrum.
Yeah,
but
make
those
robots.
Things need to get done. Yeah, and we are, for better or for worse, intertwined as a society. So it's like those little things need to get done. Like, if nobody wanted them, like if they were all Elon Musks and they were all solving the world's problems, then no one's fixing my fucking toilet. You know what I mean?
and then everybody being an Elon Musk and coming up with these awesome technological advancements, that would just be our example or our point of reference for what is standard.
Yeah.
You know, so you wouldn't really cherish that anymore. It wouldn't be significant because it's just like, oh, well, that guy just made a rocket just like that guy made a rocket.
Yeah.
You know, that guy cleaned the toilet just like that guy cleaned the toilet.
How cool would that be if our baseline were people that could create rockets?
Yeah, that would be great.
Who would our next Elon Musk be if a normal person was like Elon Musk?
The whole threshold is raised.
I mean, we would be a lot more advanced, but I think the psychology of it, you know,
it'd be difficult. We had like classes that kids take in middle school now were college classes like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
and I think that's going to keep going.
And they're still fucking stupid.
I mean, this is
people.
Why are we so dumb as a country still? If that's
well, it's because people don't value education like they used to. People used to be like, holy crap, I have, like, the extreme fortune to being educated above not ever going to school. And now we have free school up until end of high school. Which, if you think about it, I mean, if educators are doing their jobs, like, they don't need more education past high school to be a useful person. And I think, part of being a human is you should be curious enough to keep teaching yourself things after you graduate high school.
Yeah.
But you should not have to do that. Like, in high school, everyone learns basic biology, basic physics, basic chemistry, basic history, basic English. And then you get out of high school, and, like, where did all that knowledge go?
Yeah, you talked about that last time too. Just
that's just your basic, your foundation for higher learning.
Yeah, or just being a positive influence in society, being able to function with. I won't need to say positive, but just being able to function in society.
Yeah,
it's like the base level information that you need in order to not be a fucking dumbass.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think that the basic amount of information you need to function in society, you could stop at middle school for that.
Yeah.
And then the point of high school is to kind of expand your brain in a way, because you don't need to learn algebra 2. You don't need to learn, like, advanced differentials or anything like that. But if you do learn that, it gives you the opportunity to improve, like, your brain matter and expand your consciousness. But it also gives you the opportunity to maybe discover something that you want to put your life into that you wouldn't have discovered if you stopped at middle school.
Yeah, and you can be an employee now.
Yeah.
Now you're functional enough to be used by a company for some kind of wage.
Well, that's like the way that schools started off. Like, they were created to train people to go into these jobs, which is why, like, we were taught to line up and listen to bells and stuff, and, like, single file since the beginning. We were taught in one room with one teacher saying all this stuff. I mean, it's like schools are run the same now as they were 150 years ago. So
except no recess.
Did they get rid of recess, like, completely? Because
some places, yeah.
Some places might have, but I heard the other day where someone was like, I was today years old when I learned that recesses weren't for the kids. They were so the teachers could go on their mandatory breaks.
I can see that too.
Because they can't work 8 hours straight,
That's so depressing.
Oh, man.
Like in your
recess
child thing.
Recess is kind of like, I think that's prime developmental time.
Yeah, for sure.
Social, yeah.
Because you can be social in the classroom depending on how you set up your
you can't talk.
Depending how you set it up.
If you have, like, group activities and you can teach kids that way, then that could be a group learning experience. But recesses where, you break the structure of it, and you kind of, I think that kind of gears people up for interactions in public with each other. And you take that away, maybe that, especially with kids who are just stuck in their phones and their iPads, they live on the internet, they're streaming Twitch, whatever. I mean, just whatever kind of soup you can think of that comes out of that. They don't have any real interaction as far as face-to-face time goes, unstructured.
Yeah, like, those are the people that, and I think this is really common, let's say you're walking down the street, you're walking down the sidewalk, and there's someone walking towards you. Those are the people that are, like, looking down, and they're like, fuck, if I make eye contact with this person, I'm going to have to acknowledge their existence. And like, should I smile? Should I wave? Yeah. Should I say something? Like, I don't know. I'm just gonna look over here
or
while they
pull your phone out.
And pull your phone out. Look at that, so you don't have to interact with them. Like,
and because they didn't have recess when they were in school.
That's what that's all about.
They can't interact the way that they should.
Isn't that a strange phenomenon, though? Like, to not interact with people, you like in an elevator or something, like one of those constrained things, you just pull your phone out. You don't do anything with it. You just look at it. So it's signaling to everyone else, like, I don't want to fucking talk to you.
Yep.
And that's such a universal way of doing it. Like, human beings have just discovered, like, how to get away from talking to one another, or even just have, like, just exhibiting body language to you. And even when you do make eye contact, like, people make these funny, weird things. Like, they don't know what to do. They're like on my runs, like when I'm running, I got my headphones in, and I'm like running down the street, and then you want to wave to people, but I'm sure you end up looking like, hey guys, hey. Oh, there goes the GoPro. Say goodnight. But yeah, you just look like a dumbass. I don't know.
I don't know either.
People are weird, man.
When I'm out and I'm exercise, or I'm just riding my bike down the road or jogging or whatever, I just give them
the old salute.
Something like that. Yeah, just give them the little old salute and carry on. But, sometimes I wish I could maybe further the interaction and just...
Well, that's what we should do. We can make up our own language now. Like, we'll come up with signs. Like, next time you run down the street, you're like...
If you do something like this, then they know, hey, this guy wants to stop and talk a little bit.
I mean, I think every time you bump into someone, that'd be... I don't know, that could be sexual harassment. But
this guy made the booby hands at me.
I remember...
Nice.
When I travel, I make it a point to talk to people and have that interaction, because I have this idea of, like, you have, like, a certain lifespan that you can live and that you can experience, and reading books kind of adds on to that, right? Mm-hmm. But also talking to people and learning about them adds on to that. So, like, let's say you know what your life is like, and let's say you never talk to anybody and you never read a single book. The life that you live is the only life you know, and boom, you lived, like, let's say you live 70 years and you die.
Right.
So you lived 70 years and you only know 70 years. But every book that you read it lets you live almost an entire lifespan in, like, a few days. And then every time you talk to someone and they tell you their upbringing, their life, what they want to do, you're adding on, and by the end of your life, maybe you kind of experience hundreds of years of human life, but you only live 70 years, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I think that's why people like to watch interviews of old people talking about their opinions on life, because they live so much life, and you don't want to necessarily have to live 100 years to learn what they learned, you know?
Oh,
yeah, of course. You'd have to be reading the right books too.
I mean, even fiction books.
Sure,
it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, that gives you kind of a life experience, I'd say, the way that you're processing it. But if you could. I mean, you get so much out of a book like that, depending on what kind of person you are. But if you could somehow design books just for that purpose that you were saying, to further, like, if I read this book, you sell it that way. If you read this book, you will have 5 more years of knowledge, no matter how. But
you have 5 knowledge year.
I mean, I think that's why autobiographies and biographies are so popular.
That's true.
Because it's like, here is the information that if you had lived this other life, you would have gained from living that life. Yeah. And here, you can get that information without having to have lived that life. You know?
That's true. It is individualized.
I haven't read a good biography in a while.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
They're pretty cool. Well, I think the older you get, the more you can value that information. Because when you're a kid, you're like, you're so young, you're like, I'll live my own life. I'll learn that eventually. And then you find out that everyone has their own life, and they all learn different things, and there's no way you can learn all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it.
Kind of got to have an example.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and you can read the same book, and somebody else is like, "Oh yeah, I didn't take anything away from that book."
Yeah,
and you're like, "Are you fucking kidding me? That was amazing."
Read it again.
Yeah, try it. Read 3-4 more times.
Yeah,
yeah. That's just.
And I guess that's where you get your teachers coming in. It's like, well, you can read the words, but you got to process them the right way.
That's what teachers are supposed to be for.
Supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end,
now they don't
at the other
teach
end of any classroom, there's just some tired motherfucker just dealing with kids all day.
Disillusioned with the world.
Yeah, it's just semi-lush alcoholic at the end of the day.
Well, that's why
who can blame them?
When you get a good teacher, you notice it, you know?
They change your life.
Yeah, like, this teacher actually cares about what they're teaching, and they actually want people to get smarter. And the sad thing is, that's rare, and you notice it. That should be what teachers are all like.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of them are like, well, I don't get paid enough to care. I'm like, fuck you, dude. This is your job. I don't care if you're making, I don't even care if you're making $35,000 a year and you're, like, all depressed and stuff. You want to be a teacher, you have to care about, what it means to be a teacher and realize how important you are to society. Because now there are all these kids coming out that, don't know shit, and they made it all the way through high school, and they still don't know anything. And then you have people arguing, well, the reason that abortion is so high is because people are never taught about contraception, even though high school is mandatory up until they're 18. So you're trying to say they never learned about contraception and they're 18 years old, and they have access to the internet, and they had to go to school their whole lives.
Yeah.
What are you even talking about, man?
Not buying it.
This person, if they never learned about contraception, and they're like, sex equals kid, I don't want kid, they could Google how to have sex without getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Right? But did that never enter their mind? And if it didn't, then they weren't taught problem solving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then now we're getting back into the useful and unuseful.
Yeah. Net benefit. So be a net benefit human. We'll make a bumper sticker and put that on the car.
Yeah, it's kind of like the intro to Idiocracy, if you guys remember.
That's a great movie.
The really
prophetic,
dumbass guy who's got the wife and he's banging his next door neighbor. And he's got 5 kids, and he's also got the next door neighbor pregnant, and his wife is pregnant at the same time, and then they have they have their kids, and then he has like 12 kids, and then those kids have kids, and they all do the same thing.
Yep.
And they're just banging to bang, and then the other couple, they're being interviewed, and they're like, well, we're gonna have children, but we're going to have to wait because it's not economically feasible at this point. You know?
It's like such a stark
thinking
contrast.
about it on a good. They're just thinking about it rationally.
We should do like a critique where we'll watch Idiocracy and then we'll do a reaction.
Talk about it. Pause it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Do a reaction.
Psychoanalyze it.
Yeah, because if you really go back and look at it, it is kind of funny how ahead of its time it was.
And they make fun of these deep-seated social issues in a way that's just even when you're a kid you think it's funny even though you don't really understand it, you know? Like the whole Gatorade and the water fountains thing. So.
It's what fans crave.
Yeah.
But it's like a deeper pry into usually the people who lead these large social groups are the dumbest people, you know?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny.
Yeah. Well, I think that'll be our next project.
Oh yeah.
And on that note too, we're coming up against it. We've made it. Isn't that funny how time flies when you're having fun?
Oh yeah.
I know.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I know. Right? Yeah.
I feel like we just started. We haven't even started talking about aliens. So
we started off strong with the aliens.
That was the preface.
I had a whole lot of things about aliens I want to talk about.
So we're gonna save that for next time. We'll leave you with that cliffhanger for sure.
Indeed.
But just like every episode, aliens will make an appearance in some way, shape, or form.
They must.
Yep, because
it's the ultimate question.
Yep.
It's like, does God exist? Do the aliens exist?
Are the aliens God?
Yeah,
Is God an alien?
Are the aliens God?
Those are the questions the HP podcast is here to dive into.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
But, okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and sign off. From all of us here at the Humble Pastor Podcast, we thank you for joining our bullshit for 55 minutes. And keep a lookout, because next time we're gonna do something. Idiocracy or...
Aliens.
What can we tease? Yeah. And next time, more fucking aliens.
Canadians? What?
And on that note, it is time for us to end.
All right.
Take care. Goodbye.
Ta-ta.
Stay safe.
Night-night.
Nighty-night.